Good afternoon, friends. It's a great privilege and honor to be back here with you. We met last in February 2023 here, and we had a very, very useful, highly interactive meeting at that time. Today, I'm sure we'll see an advanced version of what happened last time, because we definitely keep improving our knowledge, our experience, our outlook, all this change, making every event progressively more and more valuable. Last time, of course, the meeting was in February, and we had three very important government statements in front of us. One was the President's address to Parliament, which happens on the first day of the first session in every calendar year. The second was the economic survey, which gives the details of all the economic activities in the country. And the third and most important was the budget speech of the Finance Minister. This time, of course, these are yet to come, but that certainly should not prevent us or deter us from discussing what is in store in 2024, because the budget this time, we don't know how it's going to be, because the budget things are always secret. In fact, I worked in the Finance Ministry for 3 years. I was Additional Secretary in the Revenue Department. And even at that time, I had this strong feeling that the secrecy associated with the budget is not really necessary. I consider it part of the old colonial legacy. That legacy is something which we are changing, and the secrecy of the budget is something which we could change. Maybe it was relevant at a point of time when the customs central excise rates were all notified with effect from the next day. That used to be the practice in the past. So if the budget was on the last day of February, they changed the new rates would come into effect on the 1st of March. So it had to be a secret, and when it was secret, definitely that secrecy has a value, because there were certain people, privileged people, who were privy to those secrets also. So that was, that's all past story. But now, if you are announcing a project, it's good to announce it after a detailed study, detailed feasibility study, and presentation before the public. I think that makes it more sensible. Anyway, that's an entirely different story, which we did not go into detail today. But this time, of course, being the election year, we don't know how the budget is going to be structured. One part is clear, that it's not going to be the full budget, it will be only the vote on account, which means that only 1/3 of the budget will be passed before the elections. The political and other announcements, we don't know, we have to wait and see how those things are structured. Now, this is the time when we should be discussing what is in store for 2024. Lots of discussions have been taking place. The World Economic Forum has been discussing. And in fact, they identified the major risks for 2024, which include, of course, apart from the expected environmental issues and climate change, which is at the top at number 1. And number 2 is the biggest challenge, which maybe we would all be seeing in the next few years, the challenge faced by artificial intelligence and the technology developments and related things. Because the big challenges would come in the form of AI, deepfake. We could see Sachin Tendulkar and Amitabh Bachchan and all advertising projects, or products which they never even heard of. So these will come through deepfake, and maybe anybody could be affected by all these things. But then, after these, the biggest risk identified is in the logistics sector. This disruption in logistics is one of the things which has been identified as one of the top risks in 2024. Disruption, yes, we are seeing some disruption here and there. But these are probably short-term issues because the senseless act of the terrorist act of the Hamas in Israel, followed by the highly unwarranted retaliation by Israel, the level of retaliation. Retaliation is warranted, but that level was very high. So with all that, there is a lack of peaceful existence in the Middle East, which is affecting economies, which is affecting trade. The Houthis are attacking ships. Red Sea is becoming, Suez Canal is becoming maybe inaccessible or difficult to access or risky to access. So all these issues are there on one part. On the other side, there is always this talk about the slowdown in world trade, because logistics is part of trade, it is dependent on trade, it has everything to do with trade only. So if there is a slowdown in world trade, which means that when we discuss logistics, there are concerns. In fact, some of the things which we thought would happen in the medium term, like the India Middle East that corridor. It may find it difficult to come through in the immediate future because of all these conflicts, all these geopolitical issues in the Middle East where the Israel and the neighboring countries are involved. Iran again has problems. We are friends with Iran, but definitely the things that are happening in that region are not very, very friendly for the trade, for that type of trade which we would want to do and we would want to develop. So the outlook for 2024 is, definitely in the background of all these challenges that are there in the whole ecosystem. But that's something which we cannot just wish away. It is there, it's a reality. But with all that, definitely India has been on track. We have been trying to develop our infrastructure. Unfortunately, the approach of the government has changed from the past. In the past, whenever we talked about infrastructure, the thinking was that we are a poor country, our resources should not be spent on infrastructure unless there is an assured demand. And it's seen as a dire necessity. Because the terms like opportunity cost and all were used very, very liberally to be very, very selective in infrastructure investment. But now I think the approach seems to be that if you develop infrastructure, the development will follow. I think that approach definitely is paying off. I remember last year, around this time last year, end of 2022, I remember traveling on the first stretch of the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. It was developed only after the outskirts of Jaipur. And it was a real experience. And one can imagine the type of benefit that the economy will have once the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway is complete. But then, of course, when completion of a road or an expressway is good news, but then that contradicts our effort to reduce the logistics cost. The logistics cost, of course, is another very, very important thing which we have always been discussing, but will it just happen? And we don't know. I remember I spoke on it last time also. We really don't know what our logistics cost is. We get different estimates. The latest one, an interim report by the National Council for Applied Economic Research, puts it at below 9%. But there are other reports which put it at 13–14%. Frankly, I don't know, because NCAR is not something new because they've been giving out the same rate even in the past. But whatever it is, the logistics cost has to be reduced without without adversely impacting the economy. It's a very, very important thing that the government has to initiate and the industry has to practice. And it's happening in many ways, but as I was sort of alluding to earlier, we would need a modal shift from roads and highways to the rail and waterway modes, particularly to the waterway modes wherever feasible, because that is the type of modal shift which can bring in both environmental quality improvement and reduction in cost. So that's something which has to happen. So that is one part of the whole thing. So improved infrastructure, reduction in overall cost, these are all important, and the use of technology. Use of technology, of course, the PM Gati Shakti and ULIP and all, they are there, and probably it's time to evaluate them also, because the ULIP has been there for more than a year, and there are reportedly issues when you really want to use the service of that portal. So these things are all happening. I think we should see more things happening, in the sense more of technology utilization, more of innovations. So all these things will happen. But along with that, a continuous evaluation, a customer appraisal of everything that is happening, I think that is required, and we have the opportunity to do such things here, and that will be for the benefit of everybody. In the government, they would be able to improve it, and in the industry, the industry would be able to make use of it better. So today, in the two business sessions and in the plenary session, I'm sure all these will come up for discussion and much more, because we have a very, very, we have enlightened panels with people with lots of experience, ideas, and all that. So I look forward to very, very useful sessions. And with that, let me welcome all of you once again to this the Multimodal Summit in Gandhidham today. Thank you very much.
International Rail Corporation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and let's welcome Mr. Parhi right here on stage with us.
Respected Mohandas, Chairman India Seatrade, distinguished participants from business, government and non-government bodies, and dear colleagues. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure to join you all to discuss such a topic which is close to my heart. And it's always good to come out of Delhi and be the highway. Mohandas sir has given an insight into the geopolitical issues, the issues we are facing in the logistics sector in terms of policies, and also he has given a hint that things are getting better in many areas, and the logistics is one area which we cannot just ignore because it is affecting our economy so very directly. In next couple of minutes, I will try to be very brief, and I will try to focus on the concept of multimodality, the way we understand and practice it in India, the manners in which we try to shape our services under the category of multimodal logistics or transport, and also the challenges we face at various fronts in our day-to-day experiences in dealing with them. It is an undoubted fact that in recent years, India has witnessed a steady economic growth and industrial development, resulting in rising demand for efficient transport networks and services. Multimodal transportation, interchangeably which is called also the intermodal transportation, has emerged as a key solution to overcome the challenges multimodal transport sector in India are the following. Here in India, containerization is more predominant in exim trade as compared to domestic trade. Internationally, multimodal transport in exim is driven by shipping companies and 3PL operators, while in domestic trade it is driven by railroad operators and freight operators. Intermodal transport also in domestic trade requires a large number of intermodal terminals, which is very crucial for railroad switching and in fact for modal switch and in transit storage, while in international trade it requires container terminals at ports and a network of large number of container freight stations and inland container ports. In Indian context, intermodal transport is driven by container train operators recognized by Indian Railways, while these container train operators have set up a quite few ICDs. On an overall basis, we have not been very successful to proliferate the number of terminals in compared to the number of train operations, train operators. The setting up of large number of domestic and train terminals was difficult due to land issues and other state sponsorship issues. Road transport in India has been the mode of choice for domestic trade, more or less, due to its small payload size, which has been an advantage to the road operator. Than the road transit time, as compared to India, where the road and intermodal transit time is similar. Even sometimes, in the Indian context, road transit time is better than the rail-based intermodal transit time. Indian road freight rates are somehow artificially low due to limited level of regulations and excess supply. Therefore, the road has an advantage over intermodal transport in India, both in terms of transit time, reliability, and in pricing. In India, the largest bulk carrier is the Indian Railways, which carries 1.5 billion tons of goods over various routes, out of which only multimodal fashion. In such a scenario, when products in a regulatory framework for containerization is earmarked and almost fixed and static, the bucket of containerized cargo remains small. But if we examine, except for maybe minerals, ores, bulk petroleum products, and long metal products, practically everything can be containerized. If this is so, then the transport demand will correspond to the exact economic market decision linked to each and every product service. The complementarity or the competitive nature of the product demarcation, either for bulk or for containerized cargo, have sustained claims from both bulk operators as well as operators of containerized cargoes for business access. Whereas in domestic container design for specific commodities, we have not progressed much. There is no hesitation on my part in saying that the best way of carrying goods on the land route may be by railroad. It can be bulk or it can be containerized goods also. In this context, the very nature of multimodal transport demands a certain kind of transition from one mode to the other mode without it being a protracted factor on the end-to-end logistics chain, which is very crucial. To make this simpler, a particular mode of transport and its optimum use in the logistics chain do have an impact on the overall productivity of a particular service, which is determined and should always be determined by a certain yardstick. For example, if a container is originating from a factory in Greater Noida, in the NCR region of Delhi, and had to travel to JNPT or Mundra, how much distance it should travel by road or how much distance it should travel by rail? Ideally, if all the agencies of the logistics chain are smoothly operating, then the cargo should reach a terminal in the NCR region by road, get a connecting service by rail for reaching the gateway port. This should be the ideal. Typically, this arrangement of multimodal transport fails or loses its patronage on many accounts if there are gaps in the linkages, such as if there is a handling problem, if there is a problem with train schedules, if there are issues of entry and exit into the terminal in the either in the first leg or in the last leg of the travel itself. And we have seen from our own experience that these are common issues troubling us day in and day out. Fortunately, the agencies involved are not one, but many, and each agency is truly proud of its efficiency. The aggregator, the handling agency, the terminal operator, the rail operator, and so on and so forth. Then, there is a situation when none of these agencies are able to operate optimally to have a scale of service that remains efficient, attractive, and cost-effective, so that the overall logistics cost remains low. This happens because the agencies are not able to leverage each other's service to make the cycle full. It is always assumed that by standardization of equipment, which means by designing a box, we can fix the problems of multimodal transportation. The practice of this trade, however, shows that each paraphernalia associated with each sub-service has a manifold role and a goal towards standardization to deliver the complete service. One of the well-known facts which has been harped on more and more is that despite having liberalized policy quite early in order to allow multi-operator regime in rail container sector, the CTOs have not been able to proliferate multimodal logistics terminals in a large scale, which could attract business in a pan-Indian scale. Multimodal terminals with adequate facilities are but a few in India's hinterlands. If these terminals are not designed for seamless cargo transfers and are still used as hubs, then we can imagine the quantum of loss in terms of time and money that nullifies all the benefits of multimodal transportation. There is an obvious lack of well-defined hub and spoke networks of terminals in India, resulting into requirement of multitude of OD pairs, so that services to OD pair services, the transport requirement of manufacturing industry. This makes intermodal transport more or less impractical. Having said that, we cannot ignore the positive signs that which are on the horizon and on which we have already been working. In order to address the problems of capacity constraint on major routes, the dedicated freight corridor has started operating, and particularly the container traffic. For the container traffic, it had to a large extent impacted the transit time and ensured scheduling of trains. By linking with the hinterlands of Ludhiana, Panipat in the NCR region, the major hubs like Katwas and Dadri en route have been developed and have resulted in a considerable saving on time and cost for the containers. On the shipping front, Sagarmala project focuses on improving port infrastructure and connectivity. It aims to harness the potential of India's extensive coastline and inland waterways to enhance multimodal transportation, creating an efficient network for the movement of goods. The integrated approach will optimize the utilization of coastal shipping, inland waterways, and road and rail networks. Obviously, the investment on infrastructure is going up in a large scale on the roadways and the railways, the airports and the ports. And it's already happening in a scale that we are being able to remove many of the bottlenecks. Digital transformation is happening. The adoption of digital technologies for real-time tracking, which was not available to us even decades back. Route optimization and overall process automation will revolutionize multimodal transportation in India. AI projects are also getting unveiled by many of the operators. There are also green initiatives. People have started using LNG vehicles and other environmental sustainable practices will come up. Policy reforms, in terms of policy reforms, continued efforts to simplify regulations, standardize the processes, and encourage private sector participation will continue to grow and will give efficiency of multimodal transportation. ULIP, the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, has already started operating, and data have already been shared to offer a platform of data exchange among government and private entities who are directly or indirectly involved in the Indian logistics ecosystem. With the government's focus on improving infrastructure and connectivity, multimodal transportation is set to witness further growth in the coming years. By harnessing the potential of each mode of transport and leveraging advanced technologies, India can establish a robust and efficient multimodal transportation network, supporting its economic growth and development. With this, I hope I have problematized some of the issues in the logistics sector and for the benefits of the participants and trade. Thank you so much, and I wish a great success for this summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parhi. I would request you to kindly stay on stage, and I would request Mr. Sudhir Nambiar to kindly join us on the stage and present the memento. Thank you so much, Mr. Parhi, for joining us on this lovely day. Ladies and gentlemen, if you all can put your hands together for Mr. Parhi. Thank you. And with that, once again, welcome back. Transworld Group Singapore presents 6th edition of the Multimodal Logistics Summit, powered by MPRS Shipping and Logistics Private Limited in association with Win-Win Maritime Limited, co-presented by Indian Oil Corporation and co-powered by Win Asia Maritime Private Limited. And there we are beginning our very first session, and the title of our session is Navigating Multimodal Logistics, Challenges and Successes. Probably the time has come for what you all have been waiting since long. This session will revolve around the experiences of exporters and importers in India's multimodal logistics landscape. It will delve into the challenges they face daily and highlight success stories where innovation solutions have been applied. To discuss and debate on the topic, I would like to invite all our dignitaries to the stage. First, I would request Dr. Vishhal Bisen, Managing Director, Landmark CFS Private Limited, to kindly join us on stage. Welcome, sir. Dr. Bisen is a logistician by occupation and academician by heart. He completed his MBA and earned his doctorate PhD in 2007, the first Indian to get a doctorate in multimodal logistics management. Dr. Bisen worked for CONCOR and other leading logistics companies at senior level. He currently manages 2 different businesses, Samveda Logistics and Landmark CFS. With that, everybody please put your hands together one more time for Dr. Bisen. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for joining us on this lovely day. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Ashish Joshi, Managing Director, Malara Group. Mr. Joshi joined the family business of salt production exports. He has been aggressive in international trading, making a name for the Malara Group. He entered the marine industry by supplying Castrol marine lube oil at all Gujarat ports, and the venture into agency, ship repairs, cargo handling, ship chartering, owning tugs, handling equipment, and carrying out marine service. Ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Joshi, everybody please put your hands together. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Avinash Iyer, CEO Ports and Terminal, Mundra, DP World. Captain Iyer has over 32 years of rich experience as a merchant seafarer, master mariner, academician, and chief executive officer. In his most recent role, he headed the container freight station in the southern region of India. Now he is responsible for the complete operations and management of DP World Ports and Terminals in Mundra. Everybody please put your hands together for Mr. Avinash Iyer. Next, Mr. Rohit Bajaj, CEO, Segal Group of Companies. I hope Mr. Bajaj is here with us. Okay. Mr. Rohit Bajaj specializes in business development and expansion by combining entrepreneurial acumen with business management skills to drive gains in revenue and performance. Mr. Rohit started Segal Shipping Services, now known as the Segal Group of Companies. He was named one of the top 10 Indian leaders in the logistic industries by CEO Insight in 2021. Once again, welcome Mr. Bajaj. Next, Mr. Ravikumar Nair, Senior Vice President, Petrochemicals Operations, Reliance Industries Limited. Welcome, sir. Experienced senior logistics professional with a demonstrated history of working in the oil and energy industry, skilled in operation management, warehouse operations, warehouse management systems, supply chain management, logistics management, and distribution, safety and risk management. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Suresh Rekhawat, Head International Logistics, PCBL Limited. Welcome, sir. Mr. Rekhawat has 28 years of experience in exports, imports, and international logistics with expertise in container, dry bulk, oil tanker, break bulk, vessel chartering, port operations, coastal shipping and projects. He has dealt with matters related to DGFT, customers and MOC. Additionally, he possesses exposure in manufacturing, mining and trading within corporate sectors such as RP Sanjeev Goenka Group and the Aditya Birla Group. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to invite on stage Dr. Sudesh Zingde, General Manager, Mission Pharma, India. Mr. Zingde is a result-oriented top management professional and strategic thinker with 30 years of extensive global experience in managing complex supply chains and building high-performing teams in diversified fields in elements of IIM Ahmedabad. He is a chartered engineer with a PhD in business management and MBA marketing. Welcome to you too, sir. And now, we have Mr. Radhakrishnan Iyer, Managing Director, ARR Maritime Private Limited and Fast Track CFS, here today to moderate the very first session and to set the tone of the discussion. Mr. Radhakrishnan is an expert in techno-commercial operation with broad and diverse experience in the field of total integrated logistics solution encompassing shipping and warehousing, CFS management and operations, rail and road transport dynamics, multimodal planning and integration techniques. Now I'm handing over this session to Mr. Radhakrishnan Iyer. One of the most challenging job for Mr. Iyer to moderate the very first session of this day. And I would request, the organizer has placed the mic in the middle of the audience. So whenever you want to ask any question during the question and answer round, kindly approach the mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Respected Shri Mohandas ji, thanks once again for giving me an opportunity to submit this summit as a moderator with a lovely panelist who are full of experiences, and I hope I don't lack in interacting with them in whatever knowledges I have. So please pardon me if at all I fumble in front of you people, because it's a lovely panel and I would like to be, I'll be more than enjoying to interact with them and give the best perspective here to everybody who is in the hall. And not only that, we would like to achieve that whatever is the issues or where we have succeeded and where are we lacking, so that this is one of the platforms where we can interact with a lot of government officials, authorities who are in a position to take decisions based on our inputs. And if and when there will be interactive exchanges between the audience and us, I would request, please don't hold back whatever you all want to ask, so that it gets, in such platforms, you get an opportunity to talk to authorities which you may otherwise miss out. So I wish everyone a success, and also I wish best of luck to all of us also. And in this environment of this country completely gripped with the Ram temple considerations, so I would like to say Jai Shri Ram and start the conference. Now coming to the business of the evening, I have been entrusted with the task of understanding and bringing out the issues related to logistic cost, services of multimodal logistics, and where we have reached, because it is at the nascent stage, and where we can go, and the success stories of some of the exporters and importers in the given scenario, and how they can further improve, because we are looking at increasing the EXIM trade in a manifold. I cannot term it in terms of certain percentages and all, but our targets are very, very high. And also, at this juncture, the Government of India's focus in logistics is a very, very welcome situation, which is happening for last maybe more than a decade, that we should all take opportunities, and the major focus should be towards reducing the logistic cost, which is the focus of government, and I think all the end users here. Thank you very much. And I would like to start with Mr. Ashish Joshi. I believe he has just recently got the approvals for setting up a multimodal under PM Gati Shakti, which is also like sort of a multimodal logistic park. to say a few words. Maybe I think he has got a small presentation to make, which can be restricted to 2-3 minutes, and then evolve that. What are the bottlenecks you faced while setting up this, and where do you feel that the authorities could have been a little bit forthcoming so that these MMLPs can be, multiplied in the country?
Namaste to all. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be a panelist in this group in session 1. And as a head, that exporters and importers facing issues or challenges, and against where multimodal logistics park playing a vital role. Yeah, as Mr. Iyer rightly said, that within next fortnightly we'll be launching our multimodal logistics park in close vicinity to Deen Dayal port, that is Kandla. And under PM Gati Shakti, when it was been announced that lot of wasteland with different central departments has to be encashed and under fast procedures. We were overwhelmed when in 2018, this our venture which got started, and in true sense, when PM Gati Shakti changed, when railway land policy was being renewed and maximum ceiling of 5 years was being converted into 35 years allotment. And due to that, we are in this stage where with the railway, we are developing this MMLP, and with kind permission, a small video which will explain our dedication to this park. So I'll request to play this small video for all of us.
The Deen Dayal Port, popularly known as the Kandla Port, is one of India's most important ports. Looking at the exponential growth in the field of shipping and the port's bright future, the Malara Group has set up a multimodal logistic park in a close vicinity of Deen Dayal Port. The Hub by Malara Group. The Hub is one of the first and largest private multimodal logistics park in Kutch. Malara Group, being one of the pioneers in handling multimodal transport, that is, road, rail and sea, also offers the best door-to-door service to our clients and is one of the leading service providers in coastal shipping trade. A sustainable logistic ecosystem, offering a practical and professional business climate for the area's assembling area. The Hub will empower an environment for speculators with incorporated contributions of mechanical land and warehousing offices. Moreover, it is progressively acquiring validity among organizations searching for coordination arrangements uphold, business office spaces, and open stockpiling yards within reach of 3 significant ports of India. Connecting the modes. The Hub is located in close proximity to Kandla, Mundra, and Tuna Port. The Hub is well connected to all the modes of transport via rail, road, air, and sea. Mundra, Kandla, and Tuna ports within 50 kilometers. Located next to Kandla port for easy access. Next to railway loading points. Contributing industries. Salt industries, 63%. Ports, 60% of India's cargo handling capacity. SEZ, 16%. Largest lignite and mineral reserves in Gujarat. Kutch is a developing financial and modern center in one of India's quickest developing states, Gujarat. Kutch is rightly referred as the land of possibilities. Mineral-based earthenware production, steel, power, wind energy, transports, saw pipe, compartmental terminal, warehousing, cotton industry, sun-based energy, tourism industry, handicrafts work, and many such industries are thriving in Kutch. There are several salt refineries, steel industries, shipping agencies, logistics, and transportation industries. Along with being one of the leading cement producers in the country, Kutch is also the hub of plywood, laminates, and timber industries. Suitable industries at the proposed site. Covered warehouse, open warehouse, dedicated admin section, weighbridge, bagging and drumming plant, bonded warehouse, stuffing and destuffing of containers with EXIM cargoes, storing of agri products which arrives by rail and road, consolidation of coastal parcels, EXIM container repairs. The strategic objectives, innovative multimodal park, is to reduce overall logistic cost for the clients and to gain better global reach for micro, medium and large traders. The hub shall be all-in-one logistic destination for new and upcoming exporters and importers. 4S of Marine Hub. Sustainable. The hub strives to operate sustainably by working on reducing the carbon footprints. Strategic. Located in very close vicinity and in the heart of Kandla port with easy access to port facility and nearby Kandla city. Suitability. Convenience and comfort of multi-import and export options with strategic location. State-of-the-art. Ultra-modern construction and ample space available to serve as a multi-purpose site for all the businesses. The hub is the best connected, most integrated logistics park, managed by a team of experts who can work with you on bespoke solutions to supply chain and property needs. We firmly believe in taking the nation towards being Atmanirbhar Bharat. The hub welcomes you to join us in this journey.
In fact, when we were discussing about this presentation today and yesterday, the only reason, normally what happens is we don't do such presentations in a seminar, but, only for the benefit of the audience and everybody, that what a multimodal logistics park should be and what all services should be available. Then we will be dwelling upon the cost factors and the service factor, how integration can happen, both domestic and EXIM, and further value-added services can be offered from here. But I would like to start this summit in such a way that this is the multimodal logistics parks, which is going to come up in India across many places. Now, luckily I have got 3 users, very big users of the logistic services here, Reliance and Mr. Segal, and there is one more gentleman here who is a user, apart from, yes, Dr. Sudesh is here. So I would like to start with you, Dr. Sudesh, that I'm sure you are aware of all the prevailing facilitations and multimodal logistics and all the policies which the government is coming up with. As a user, what would be your concerns yesterday, what you have reached and where you expect to reach, and what are your concerns related to cost, efficiency and services you're expecting from the trade, which I also belong to?
Sure, thanks. Yes, first of all, let me wish you all a very happy and prosperous, healthy new year. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank India Seatrade for organizing such a fantastic summit and inviting. Thanks also goes to the government of India for a lot of good initiatives. Some of them are in the early stages. But I think if all these initiatives are taken in the right spirit and implemented in the right ways, I think we can transform India into the manufacturing and export hub. As I see from the industry perspective, 4 or 5 key concern areas where we need to look into, and some of these initiatives do connect it. One, there is clear need of cost optimization. India's logistics cost by all the research is quite high. We are nowhere competitive compared to some of the other nations. And it's also uncertain. All of a sudden, there is cost escalation. There are some additional charges. So I think
to interrupt you, doctor. I think, what happens is when we are talking about high cost, we're just generalizing. So as a user, I'm sure you will have certain actual points where, it is hurting and where it has to be addressed to. Also, if you add it, maybe what will happen is, few examples. I don't say that you give your entire this thing, but few examples to add so that it is not a general statement.
True, I agree. One, I think definitely, the port charges is one killer factor. It's also the transportation, which is quite high. And unfortunately, with the terrain and diversity, not everywhere we can connect it with the rails, where the cost is comparatively lower. So it is a challenge. And we come across many instances where if you have to ship it through Kandla, for example, with all this additional cost, we are simply not cost competitive. And situation is only getting probably worse with increased labor rates and increase in THCs and other port charges. So definitely cost is one of the first primary concern.
Similarly, I'm fortunate that there are 3 users and 3 service providers. So I request all the service providers to please take notice of all these questions, because I'm going to go through the first session of questions with all the users. And then once, we all are answerable to these people. If these users are not there, there will be no port, there will be no CFS, there will be no multimodal. So that is the thing, we need to answer to them also here. And I would like to take this question to you, Nair, the similar thing, of course, with an added thing that you have been handling a lot of bulk and exim cargo, even domestic cargo, and multimodal in real sense in Reliance. So you can talk more elaborately related to the cost as well as what are your expectations.
Thanks for the question. And first of all, thank you India Seatrade for inviting me for this event. It's really a pleasure to be amongst the august audience and share my views here. First, let me start by wishing everyone a happy new year. Now, coming to the question which you posed upon on the concerns which as a user we are facing, I think as my fellow panelists have said, cost is definitely on the highest on the list. And when I say cost, actually we are comparing, what are we comparing with? We are comparing with the next best option available for moving that similar cargo. Like if I stick to the domestic trade, as we all know, we are predominantly a road-dominated country. Road transportation is very, very high. So when we look at the multimodal cost, obviously the comparison is with the road, which may not be the right thing, because road is a very fragmented industry. Road doesn't have many of the regulations in place. I'll say it is more exploited in some way. To give a simple example, even a round trip from Mundra to Jamnagar and back, I find that the road costs are comparable to the multimodal costs on a one-way basis. That's the irony of situation. It is a very bizarre situation, but that's the reality. Maybe there is oversupply, and it's an unregulated industry. We don't follow a lot of the compliances which are required to be done on the roadside. So things will improve at that point of time. Whenever regulations are put up in place and strict enforcement comes in. Let's not talk about the safety. Safety is a very in dire straits when it comes to road. So that's a separate discussion we can have at some point of time. But when it comes to cost, today as users, obviously we are comparing that with the road cost. So when I compare that, I find that multimodal cost is definitely on the higher side, especially in the short leads And when you have cargoes which are not very dense cargoes, because there is a lot of optimization which has already happened on the roadside also. Gone are those days when the 10-tonner trucks used to carry. Now, today, new transports, trucks are at 55,000 tons GVW. The government of India has increased the GVW capacity by 25% in 2018. We are all aware of that. So today, I can legally carry 55,000 tons gross weight on the Indian roads. So generally, the trucks are carrying 40 tons and the highest bracket. So because of that, he's getting economy of scale, his costs are lower. So you will be competing with that. So cost will be a concern. And to overcome this, especially when you look at a light cargo or a medium to light cargo, unless we as multimodal operators look at solutions which can bring in more improvisation in the container designs, different types of containers where I can optimize my loading, use my loading capacity to the maximum, it's not going to bring down the cost. There are other issues when it comes to cost. I'll come to that separately, but this remains the primary issue which when we are looking at it.
Mr. Suresh, same question, and from you, I think you have vast experience of, maybe I can say that you could be answering some of the answers as a service provider also, because of your experience and all, and the question remains the same. Then we can get into the second rounds after you get some answers from the service providers.
Thank you so much. Thanks Seatrade for organizing this beautiful event and having me here. Good afternoon and New Year to all present here. So based on my own experience, I can say cost is definitely one part and that will remain forever. But we must look for the efficiency. This logistics sector, somehow we see very less professionals, and the sector is working, less skilled people. That is also in a way not allow them to work the way it should be. We have a warehouse in Belgium, so we have a stock and sell model there. By the way, I work for PCBL. We are the largest manufacturer of carbon black, and we are the largest exporter of carbon black from India. We have all kind of transport arrangement, sea, air, land, as well as coastal. So everywhere, this professional employment of, or a professional dealing is missing. And that is very much required to my understanding. Technology, use of technology is happening, but there is a scope of improvement on the use of technology. For example, if I take an example of air, say DHL or UPS, this is the global giant, the way they are using technology, our Indian companies, whatever mode they are operating, the use of technology is less. There is a scope to bring down cost by increasing efficiency. Secondly, if as an exporter, when we price, we have three components. We see what is my ex-works price, that is within our control, how efficient I am, how efficient I am producing, how efficient I am managing my warehouse and packing. Second comes to FOB, ex-works to free on board. And third is C terms or D terms. Now, FOB cost is silently increasing. If you see last few years, in all sectors, shipping line, port, toll tax, lift-on charges, and so many other charges. It is silently increasing, and that one FOB cost, we are not able to pass on to our customer. FOB cost is not known to our customer, like they are aware about the ocean freight. And there is, I think, Gati Shakti and other initiative by government, infrastructural development has happened, and that has changed drastically our infrastructure landscape. Thereby, transporter and other operators are getting advantage. But this advantage is not coming to the exporter or importer. So I think there is a need to look on this and work together.
Now, I will start with Mr. Rohit. We are all the service providers, including me, as I said, that you have heard where is the problem, where is the cost issues and all. Maybe we will have our own explanations and our own justifications also. But the fact remains that the cost is on the higher side. So we would like to give your inputs on this as a service provider, and how the next, when we start the next part of questioning, we will look into how we can evolve and try to reduce this cost, because any which way, we are marching towards that the Government of India's focus has to be achieved, and we will be doing good for ourselves by increasing and multiplying the volumes to the level of maybe we are competing with China. Yes, Mr. Rohit.
Right, so good day everyone, first of all. As the topic of multimodal is always an interesting topic for me. We have made our company get into multimodal since last 9 years. And when the summit was to start, my teammate said, "Sir, where are your notes?" I said, "Notes will be only rolling around on the dais here, and you don't need any notes. You have a content always around you. The multimodal is your interesting topic. You have passion about this."
Enough to speak.
Enough to speak.
This session will not be sufficient.
And when it came on the dais itself, with the service providers to comment on and say about how do you mention about cost effectiveness, I feel sometimes as a service provider, we feel the masala between the sandwich. So you are between the two bread pieces and you are the masala. Okay, now you try to imagine. The first piece must be your customer, and the next piece is your team, or to whom or with whom you are doing this activity. And it all depends. The heat while toasting that sandwich, you take on yourself and you grill yourself to give the taste to the whole sandwich, is the role of the service provider. I can say that. So in this ground, I meant to say, like rightly pointed by Ravi sir also, and Mr. I think Suresh sir, yeah, that the cost is vital role and it is increasing day by day, but definitely the demand from the back-end side, be it the cost of fuel, or for the teams to pay, or for the lands to acquire, or for the interest cost on the banking side, everything is increasing, and that gives the replication effect to the service provider's cost. Whereas the margins, what service providers were getting those days, past days, have reduced. So now we should appreciate that these kind of service providers, like we kind of team, are coming forward to deliver the best kind of services to our customers with the best team efforts, keeping the best pay to the teams, be it top to bottom, any layer, and thinning our margins, but to only focus to the growth of the nation. That is the role where a logistics or service provider plays. And becoming a multimodal logistics service provider, it's simply, I can explain in one line, that you deliver a goods by truck from one place to the next place very easily. You get it loaded onto the premises. You get it unloaded onto the premises by the receiver. But when you take the challenge to do the multimodal, it is a challenge when you say, everything I will do, I'll deliver you the truck at your ground, I'll take your cargo to the next place, I'll load onto the sea or onto the rail rack, it may be anyway, I'll deliver your goods with time, with efficiency, with the cost effectiveness, the first foremost for anybody to challenge that, why should I divert my mode if it is not cost effective? And the safety of goods. Yes, because of multiple times of handling, it has to be, it is all your responsibility that you are taking somebody else's baby to take from his house, nurture him, deliver it to the next place with all fulfillment of commitments as a parent to that cargo. So this is the role of multimodal logistics player, I can say. And then you can compare about the cost or time or anything. But I think I'm thankful to India Seatrade to start this initiative of the topic of multimodal logistics in summits, where we used to see that summits were happening only on logistics or shipping or any such kind of topics of exams. But this is kind of a platform. And moreover onto the multimodal, it is opportunity for India. If you are comparing with China, if you are comparing with West, I can say complete West, not only with the Germany or Belgium, but the West complete is totally developed in these parts. They have thought way before about these activities. If you speak about China, I am more into multimodal logistics by sea. We deliver the cargo end to end, where we take the initiative to bring the cargo to any port of minor port or major port and deliver to the next port and take it to the client's doorstep. But still we are lacking behind the infrastructure. Still we do that. I remember today meeting Ravi sir. It reminded me 4 years before, we met at their office for a topic. The aggression, what I am saying about myself or my team, has delivered to the multimodal logistics industry, because I met him for a topic that he must be remembering, that how to convert the cargo movement by road, which is going by road from Mundra to Jamnagar, back and forth, and divert into the sea. I can place my barges, I can place my ships, if you remember that. That is a challenge. We've been to port to see where we can discharge this cargo, where we can place these containers. How can we collaborate with the international shipping lines that we will deliver your cargo within timeline, so that you do not mismatch you do not fail your timelines for the export-import ships. So that was a challenge. But there was a passion, there still is a passion to go forward, a step forward and get into things. And I see a lot of young diocese, like young entrepreneurs we have around, our teammates around, can place these efforts going forward. I can say this is one me, but there can be we all together. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes, we do have challenges, definitely, and there is cost. But what concerns is what Mr. Suresh said is this FOB cost is silently increasing, which may make them uncompetitive. That also has to be kept in mind. We will deal with that in the coming rounds. And, one thing good has happened in the multimodal logistics is, earlier, the logistic industry was completely disintegrated industry. Somebody is providing warehousing, somebody is providing transport, somebody is providing all different services. But MMLP, people will realize, and it will come to the fore, that everything has to be clubbed together, and maybe, the bigger players will come into the force, which, according to me, might help us in reducing the costs and all. Now, when I'm talking this, there is a gentleman who is next to me, is Mr. Avinash Iyer, who are running terminals, who are running CTOs, now who are giving end-to-end services, and also trying to integrate all these logistic services under one roof. Maybe you can also put in some light to these things, because these are decent developments. These are recent development which is happening.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for having me here. So the concept of cost is something I think one of our panelists correctly said. It's always going to be there. It's always something that's undesirable by nature. I mean, that's what it is. But let's look at what the focus of this panel, this entire trade, this community needs to be. It needs to be on technology, it needs to be on efficiency, and it needs to be on governance. If these three can come together, we will largely see a homogenization of most of these costs, and that will automatically make things a lot more transparent. How does it work? Radhakrishnan sir was very kind enough to introduce me as working with a company that runs terminals, does CTO. We do a lot more too. We do ICDs, we have got FTWZs, we run cold chain, we do express logistics. We also run ships. We've got a whole lot of industry that's working on bringing all this together. The purpose of that is to kind of at least make a beginning in having somebody who can deliver goods end to end. basically from the shop floor to the customer door. And if something like that can be done, then we automatically have a mitigation of cost, because we believe that that these activities, each of these activities in isolation consumes time, effort, energy, thereby resulting in cost. If we are able to kind of put all these together in the model of technology and provide a platform which can make the customer have visibility of his cargo right from the time he books it till the time it reaches his doorstep, we have cracked the case. We have our own platform as we see it, and if we are going to go about speaking about why the cost continues to exist, we also have a certain amount of inertia that we see in acceptance of technology. And that's a huge challenge. That's not a challenge which is outside of this room. That's a challenge within the room. And that is where I see us needing to put in a greater effort for everybody to see what technologies exist, what this market space can offer, and how best we can leverage it. Again, coming back to why a cost comes into the conversation. The cost should be product agnostic. I mean, any service should be product agnostic. By product agnostic, I'm talking about it need not be EXIM, it need not be coastal, it need not be express. It can be anything, right? But the nature of service is the same. You're bringing it in, you're figuring a way of sending it to the next place where it's supposed to go. So why have this entire thing of classification? Why limit the amount of utilization that you can have of a facility, of a space? If we are able to move around with these existing practices and evolve a further set of capabilities, we will see a rationalization of costs. And let me guarantee you this, if one person starts it, it's not going to be very long before 3 people do it, before the entire dynamics of the industry change. And the money finally will find its way back to who we call as the BCOs and who form the most integral and most important part of our strategy. Thank you.
Yes, and I fully agree with you. And I think we are, as far as the cost factor is also concerned, we are evolving. We are evolving over a period of time, and much more is to be achieved, but as you rightly said, at the end, that will give a result. Now, I will like to ask Mr. Vishhal, who is ex-CONCOR, has done his doctorate in logistics, plus he runs a CFS, to address one of the questions of Mr. Suresh that, the skilled people are not there in the logistic industry, number one. Also, I have felt that in our industry, yes, we were branded as unorganized industry. Maybe that is evolving, that will evolve over a period of time, it will be much more different, maybe 10 years down the line. And would like to talk about how the cost factor can be addressed by you as a service provider or as a on behalf of all the service providers like you, CFS or warehousing. And skilled, when I said that skilled people are not being employed, his question is concerned. Why I took that point to him is, he's running an academy, training the people in logistics, so maybe he can talk about that also.
आज़ादी के इस अमृत महोत्सव के दौर में रामलला के दर्शन भारतवर्ष में होने जा रहे हैं, और तभी इसी नव वर्ष के आप सभी को राम राम. Coming to our topic, that is navigating multimodal logistics challenges and success. Yes, I would like to say we are successful in delivering whatever expectations are there in the trade, for the trade and by the trade. So when we are talking about cost, because everybody is talking about the cost, and this is the talk of town, like everywhere there is a cost is increasing, cost is increasing. ये ऐसा हो गया है कि पहले जब सरकारें आया और जाया करती थी तो सब लोग महंगाई को दोष देते थे. महंगाई, तो ये महंगाई जो कॉस्ट है वो हिंदी में महंगाई है, लेकिन जब वही सरकारें इस साइड में आती है तो वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट करती है. एंड आई वुड like to take the point from our Honorable Das sir. Develop the infrastructure, development will follow you. And this is what the mantra of our government. This is what the need we all are looking forward. Because unless and until your infrastructure is not being developed, how can you serve to your customer, to your nation? Because everybody are looking forward to have comfort, whether it is a shipper, exporter, importer, trade or service provider. And when we are talking about the cost, again I would like to take his second point of reducing overall cost. It's not only logistics cost. Why are we always indicating to the logistics cost? It's not only the cost which is coming through your lift on, lift off, or your handling, or your shipping, everywhere. But what is the reason behind this? Have we identified? Do we have a research on it? Have anybody have given a submission to the government of India? When you are speaking about any particular industries, you are subsidizing them. If you are talking about the textile industry, yes, you say your taxation would be like this. If you are talking about your diamond industry, you say your taxation, your benefits are like this. Where all are they all benefits? Here in logistics. The cost of logistics, why cost of logistics have increased? Why it is increasing day by day? Like over the period of time, as sir mentioned, it is silently increasing because the diesel cost is also silently increasing, sir. It was when we were talking about the Mahungai, it was 40 rupees. Now it is 85 rupees. So your cost has increased. Your cost is doubled because the major share of your cost is the diesel cost. It is the fuel cost. And when we are talking about CNG, methanol, or electrification, so it is way away. It will take a lot of time to implement in that way because again, it's a matter of infrastructure. So you bring that infrastructure, you pay for that. So it's all interlinked. So sir, I feel there is a need to have little bit of brainstorming on reducing the cost by means of giving this industry a benefit of subsidies by any means. Like if somebody is giving services to the exempt trade, his diesel cost should be like, subsidized by this much rate. So automatically your cost will come down. So this is what related to the infrastructure, which is all service providers are is serving to their trade. The same is happening with the shipping lines also. Their cost is also increasing. When freight is going down, how they survive, that is again a matter of question. So it's not like our topic of discussion over here, but when you talk about reducing cost, yes, there should be a parameter how to reduce the cost and where that parameters will work in reducing the cost in the coordination or in discussion with the government of India. Second point, the skill development. Again, skill development, you pay the peanuts, you will get monkeys. This is what everyone says. So, if you need skilled people, experienced people, professionals, you will have to pay them. नहीं तो किसी को data entry करना भी नहीं आता है. अब data entry, if you are now, if you are going to recruit somebody at an entry level, his job is only to enter the data into the computer. He is also asking something he is also expecting a salary of something which was not there 5 years ago. Because the cost has increased, because the cost of living is increased. He can't survive, so we'll have to pay. So, as a logistician, as an Indian, our job is to develop the skill. to improve upon the skills from the rural Indias. Because the people, those are living, the qualified young boys and girls are there in rural India, those are not having jobs. So what we are doing, we are offering them a solution of the training of 1 month and then on-site training of another 1 month. So they can go in any shipping line or logistics company and they can negotiate. They are capable of negotiating their salaries. Otherwise, they'll be offered again peanuts and we will get a peanuts in turn. So our job is to everyone's job. It's not only somebody, some academician or some institution, but it's our job to become an institution also, being a service provider. You recruit people, train them, and make them capable of giving the good services. And by means of giving good services means make them more efficient. So this is what my submission is here. Thank you.
Yeah, again I'll come back to Mr. Suresh. I'm sure that you will definitely be not happy with the answers we are giving, but I will only request you to look into the rationale, and also, since you are also, as I told you initially itself, that you are kind of a service provider also, and you can address all these points raised by the service providers too. So, I request you to please look, analyze and revert on these answers so that we can go forward further.
Absolutely. So inflation effect will be there. So what you mean to say, Mehngai, it is there. So we can't deny. But at the same time, that's why I'm saying that cost debate will remain forever. But how to counter that? One way, bring efficiency. One way, use technology. So today, a person is doing manually with error, and every error has a cost. So the service provider, he has to pay the error cost, he has to pay for manual person's salary. Instead, if I bring technology and efficiency, keep 2%, and if we ensure there is no error or minimum error, that way I can address this cost. So that's one way of bringing efficiency and controlling over cost. Secondly, we know sometime back Mr. Gadkari announced that every truck has to be AC, this driver chamber. So we expect a further cost escalation will be there. That is for the betterment of the driver. Those are leading pathetic life today. Very good initiative. So this cost ultimately will come to trade. We have to think from now how to keep this cost away, or how to bring this efficiency so that this cost will not affect our trade. See, one Houthi attack is resulting $30 billion less exports from India in this quarter. That's the data from Ministry of Commerce. So, and this kind of disturbance will remain. So something or other will happen. Now, as sirs mentioned, that if shipping line is not making enough money, how they will sustain? True. Trade needs a stable kind of thing, not too low, not too high, which is happening. We have seen in COVID, last 6 months, shipping freight was absolutely low, and now from this 18th of December, we are nowhere to service Europe, Med and US. So, to my understanding, this kind of negotiation, this kind of discussion, this kind of seminar is required more frequently to understand each other and work together. So if we work together, if we understand each other's needs and challenges, solution will come fast. The objective should be we as a producer and the service providers work together with the aim to serve our end customer, overseas customer. So it should be a joint effort. It's not that I am just producing and he is just, so unless we work hand in hand, I think this will not be achieved.
Mr. Nair, now I'll come to you and would like you to share, with all these development, PM Gati Shakti, Multimodal Logistics Park, and all these policy changes, now ULIP has come, so that, we are not yet reached the stage what it was desired for, but we have just begun, as Chairman Saab also mentioned, that ULIP has begun. With all these things, is there, can you say that yes, there are success stories already in vis-a-vis import or export or logistics, anything because of these policies, or it is still at the nascent stage and developing?
I think, in my view, when it comes to National Logistics Policy, which was launched somewhere in September 2022, it's almost 16 months. I don't think we are really made big headwind there. It's at a very nascent stage. Even ULIP, which is going to be a very, very, I'll say, directional shift in the way we look at data. Almost data from 16 government departments are going to be available online, and the end user can take advantage. But I think the pace of implementation needs definitely more rigor. Like, for example, I'll give a very simple example. If I have a ULIP interfaced with the MORTH department, which is the Ministry of Road Transport, I don't have to really maintain a separate truck master or a driver master when a truck or a tanker comes to my plant for loading. I can directly integrate the data of M-Parivan, which is a Vahan portal for the vehicle, or a SARZI portal of the drivers. I can directly interface. So it gives me an authentic data. It increases the security of my cargo, because I know that this is a valid license holder. This is a genuine truck. So these are the advantages. But I think we still have some way to go there before we can say that it's a success. When it comes to EXIM, I don't think even IceGate is still in consideration when I look at an exporter for integration. They're still at the building blocks level. So we'll have to really work with details with the government and the concerned departments to achieve the benefits. The policy is definitely very good. It's a step change in the way we are looking at cost. And I think all the right ingredients are there in the policy. The Comprehensive Logistics Action Plan, which talks about the 7 key specific areas which they want to work upon, they're very, very good initiatives. Be it the ULIP, which is one of the initiatives under that, be it the second one is on the benchmarking of standards, the quality of warehouses, which is going to come up when the logistics policy will be fully implemented. HR is one big area, which is a talk about the education. That's again one area. Then we have on the state engagement is also considered in a big way when it comes to the national logistics policies, and so on and so forth. So that means even there are sectoral plans every department of the government would be working on, specific to that particular industry. For the cement industry would be clearly catered by that ministry, or a chemical industry with the chemical ministry would be looking at that industry's requirement, and accordingly logistics plans would be made. But I think by the time all these plans really come on board and then we have a seamless experience, I think a lot of efforts will be required. So we are all optimistic about it, and we'll have to wait for some more time.
So we all have to contribute towards that so that we have a better tomorrow. Dr. Sudesh, again, your inputs I would like to ask, as you rightly said in the beginning, that again the same multimodal logistics or integrating all the services together and providing services, will it, in what way it will benefit you? It will reduce the multiple handling, and it will, to my best knowledge, I think it will also help in reducing the cost. But how do you look at all these policy issues which the government is doing to enhance your end result, I would say?
Yes, sure. I think I can see it as a golden opportunity, both for the nation at large as well as industry. But of course, then we have to adopt a new technology or the latest technology to optimize the cost. We cannot reduce the cost per se, but we can definitely optimize the cost. May it be with automation, it could be with better skills. There are lots of other mechanisms, economics of scales, and this is all interconnected. So there is a clear need for speed. And when I say need for speed, which means we have to go into the automation. Automation increases our output. Again, our cargo handling will increase. So I can see it as a great advantage to the industry. But infrastructure-wise, we have to really aim for world class. For example, we are into the healthcare sector. We handle the emergency kits. So every minute counts because it has to reach a destination, and we are not there. We have seen it in the COVID times, how important is the speed. And here I think we are a long way to go to reach to that particular speed. But I am again very optimistic, as my co-panelists said. It looks to be we are in the right path with the able leadership at the political level. So I think it can happen. We need to have patience, definitely. But if all the efforts are put together in the right way, by not just public as well as private partnership, we can definitely achieve it.
Mr. Joshi, I'm coming to you last because, as a service provider, that you are setting up a multimodal logistic park. And my belief in this sector is, as much as everybody will agree with me, I think Mr. Rahul will agree and Avinash will agree and you will also agree that we can, with this model, we can integrate all the services under one roof, which may bring down the cost. That is my belief, but I would like to hear from you.
Sir, you rightly said...
I have one more, sorry to interrupt you, one more supplementary question to you is you have set it up, so whoever in the audience or the young entrepreneurs and all who are looking forward to get into the PM Gati Shakti model and try to set up something like this, so what all hurdles you have faced and what you would expect the government to support you on whichever aspects?
I will come to first one. As far as cost is there, yes, MLP is a definition where it took India to come from 54th rank to 37th rank about 11 years. This is the data, right? Now in 11 years, if you are reaching to 37th rank from 54th, it means something is happening in that model. As rightly said, I will address this to manufacturers that they don't have a volumes. If they have a volumes, they will give service provider a guarantee that 30 days, this much volume, 60 days or 1 year. So what service providers normally do? They engage their manpower, they engage their machinery, they engage their infrastructure to provide that service at X cost and not adding plus one. So yes, it is a vis-a-vis. If service provider is giving them low cost, they can bid in international market for the bigger volumes. So clap has to be with both the hands. I strongly recommend to each and every manufacturer to adopt a system where a service provider has fully faith on you and a manufacturer is having a full faith on a services being provided in the past and in the future from that service provider. The fashion which we service provider, Mr. Rohit will also agree, Dr. Vishhal will also agree with me, that we get changeover maybe morning till evening or maybe weekend. Every morning, service provider to its client gives a good morning message. It's not that he wishes them good morning, but it is just to make that, yeah, you are with me and I'm with you. This is a fact. So, this is a strong bonding relation which has to be adopted and to understand the international market. I will give an example. We are handling as a stevedores wind energy cargo at Kandla for a German giant called Enercon. They have adopted a system that they appoint a stevedore, they appoint a surveyor with their own policy, and once you match that policy, they give you a contract for 3 years, 5 years or something like that. Which has yielded up us that at least we have adopted few equipment, few assets and reduced the cost. And today they are happy. They are saying that, they are mentioning that yes, in compared to Germany also, we get good service at low rate at Kandla. So this is how volume vis-a-vis cost is playing a vital role. Coming to our setup for MMLP, yes, we understood over maybe 1 decade with my team that if we pitch to forwarding, there is something missing on CHB, custom house brokers. If we pitch into CHB, there is something missing on transportation. If all threes are being matched, then storage is the issue. So what MMLP is for, that rightly, if you want to reduce the cost, we give a package, door-to-door service or storage and everything under. In 2021 October, when this PM Gati Shakti launched at Gandhidham, our team members drawn out some good points from that to acquire a land which is with a low cost. If your land is chewing away service providers' liquidity, then that liquidity is raising up your cost for the additional services. So, first of all, in PM Gati Shakti, yes, there was a drastic change when they given us a land policy for the railways. It was only, as I said, for the 5 years. ROI was very difficult for any setup. So in PM Gati Shakti, within 3 months' time, there was a policy for giving that land for 35 years. Now, we face the challenge that door to door, yes, policy makers has to appraised by requirement of that service provider, because they are sitting in one part of a country or either in the one cabin, and they are seeing what has been given to them in file or in some presentation. We went door to door to that policy makers. We made them understood that if you are giving us a land for 5 years, surely this model will not get succeeded. Now this land what we are talking is just opposite to the railway line. Now if you want to get connected to railway, if you want to get connected to seaport, it's 3 kilometers. I repeat, it's 3 kilometers. And that land, since almost about 2 decades, was lying idle as a wasteland. So this is how PM Gati Shakti has improved that portion, and we have a pride, and if railway any officers are here, this land has been first of its Gujarat when PM Gati Shakti has given under 35 years. It's the first land. So MMLP has to be next level of storage, service providing, giving a good value addition services to that. Yes, as rightly said, new technologies, first in, first out, for the smallest cargo, for the lifeline support commodities. We have we are into refer storage also. So we will be giving them such kind of products, good storage at very low cost. But again coming to that, there are challenges in setting up MLP, but now, yes, Government of India has changed its view. Land is not setting up as a business to them. This sentence has to be to the policy maker. This land they have not taken as a business to them. They are providing land under such kind of circulars and under such kind of policies where we can pitch it into any young entrepreneur. Now today warehousing is very big industry. If you really want to value add something on that, multimodal logistics park will be the future with a low cost, better handling with the safety of the products. Thank you.
I would like to come to you, Rohit, that you said you are transforming the transportation by sea, with domestic movement and all these things. And also you are, I think, kind of doing multimodal. And you say that you have challenges, but definitely you have not given up. Okay, so there comes my question, that you are going to face the challenges. What are they? And you are definitely seeing an end of the tunnel, that where you want to reach. And are you hopeful? And what all help and encouragement you are expecting? When I say encouragement means you are expecting from the government what all things are stuck, or where you want them to look into this?
Nicely pointed, sir. As I say, definitely the challenges, as I say, it has been 9 years now, it is almost 10th year now, facing challenges, reaching up to the level where we now, we were operators only for the ships, now we are the owners also. So coming up to this level and still forecasting the highest level of the Indian logistics company, you have to keep in your mind, yes, challenges will come. And definitely with the challenges comes with the solutions when you have to dig around the things, you have to get into...
Just point out one of two, so that, it is like, this is still, a situation is that we have to do this.
So the biggest challenge I'll very, very precisely come to this again. I think last multimodal summit was the same here. A few of the government dignitaries were also sitting around, and I said, India, if we want to see the diversion in multimodal via sea, first of all, we need ships in India. There are no coastal ships in India, as many as, like you say, having 7,500 plus nautical miles coastline. You don't have even 100 ships of Indian coastal flag. So if you compare to China, these are 10,000 plus. So that is the biggest challenge that India has to overcome. Now we come to the challenge of owning a ship in India. You don't have funding partners like bankers or nobody. And if you have to go to bankers, they'll ask for the plenty options, like plenty of the questioning about what are the securities, this is the floating asset. I say, is it only affecting Indian bankers or it is to the international bankers also? So this is something what we have to come up with the government also, that we have to change our mentality for the growth, which now we see is literally gradually happening. It reminds me also.
What I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So it reminds me also when it was national logistics policy was declared by government. Modi Sahab has he had made some event that some of the cheetahs are being sent to from Africa to the jungles to show that cheetah is the sign for Gati and Shakti. Fortune with that. We also named our first vessel at Sea Star Cheetah. And then for the next was Sea Star Tiger, then Sea Star Eagle. Now we own 5 ships. So this is how it encourages you with governments taking positive steps forward. Although these are the summits where you can raise your points, which ultimately reaches to the ears of the government authorities, and it gives the pleasure that when it comes back to you after a few years, in return, that okay, something good is happening. You speak about gift, yeah, it is a good initiative, definitely. India was looking forward. So kind of these activities in sea model, we have still very many opportunities coming up with the ports, diverting into the privatization. It is also a good opportunity for Indian stakeholders to come forward, step forward and get into such opportunities. But yes, keeping in mind for the challenges, that challenges will come and you have to be ready to face them.
Where do you see yourself down the line 5 years or your sector?
We already named with the summit India's leading multimodal logistics player.
Thank you, congratulations. Now I know the organizers are looking at me for quite some time because they are already behind schedule. I have only 2 more questions, then I'll sum it up. And this question is like to Mr. Suresh, and then it will be answered by Mr. Avinash, and then I'll sum it up. That, now, I think you will also agree that the MMLPs, or whatever is the development, the government policy, like for transparency or digital transformation, multimodal logistic parks under the PM Gati Shakti and all these things are coming up. It eventually will benefit. Some of the service providers of MMLP are telling, and we are also feeling, and I also feel strongly about it. Where and all do you think that MMLP should come up in India? And it should definitely, as he said, that it should not be only that by next year, only Mr. Joshi's MMLP is there in Gujarat. There should be multiple, much more. That is the reason I asked him to share the hurdles he faced so that others can also, look into that if at all people are there looking for these projects and all. So where and all you would like to see this in India and its utility?
Yeah, so this digital initiative taken by Government of India last 5 years or so immensely, changed the landscape of what the usual work style of export-import fraternity. Ease of doing business definitely there, and that is helping to all exporter, importer, service providers and Government of India himself. Similarly, when we talk about multimodal, it's very initial stage now in India. This kind of company we need more, because supply chain, especially logistic part of it, has a very important role to serve our customers. So any missing link in between, your whole purpose will be defeated, So I am producing a quality product on time, but I am not able to deliver to customer on time. So customer means they need, today everybody is working on GIT concept. Nobody wants to keep any extra inventory. So any consignment is not reaching on time means I am not getting further order. They will source it locally. So immediate consumption they have done through the local manufacturer. When this consignment reaches, they will use their subsequent production. Then my subsequent order is missed. And that is a permanent loss for the company and for the country. Therefore, the logistics provider, all service providers, they have very pivotal role to play, and that's why I advocate we must work hand in hand. There is gaps, there are some challenges, so we need to understand each other, where is the challenges and how we solve together. So we welcome these multimodal operators that will give us very hassle-free kind of operations. We need not contact multiple persons for multiple things. So maybe point of contact is 1 or 2 for us. So manufacturer and marketing guy can focus more on engagement with the customers for the product development, for the quality development, and rest thing, logistics and supply chain can be taken care of by this, experts on this chain of this supply chain. So this is very welcome step, and I think we need more of such across geography, because we are handling in south, east and west.
You mean to say that this should come up only in the port area, or it should also be there in other?
No, right from sea, somebody should come and take my cargo from my plant and to deliver to customer's door with a single point contract as an exporter. But that has to be very efficiently and cost even. And I think this is a beginning. Maybe 2 years, 3 years down the time, we will see more such companies are coming and doing this.
Since you had lastly said that in the coming 2-3 years, more companies are coming up and setting up such things, I come to Captain Nair as they are getting into various fields of logistics as a company, and in general also, where do you see that these MMLPs coming up and these integrated services are going to be offered vis-a-vis DP World and in general?
Yeah, hi. So vis-a-vis DP World, we do always make market assessments of clusters, industrial segments, and then we try to figure out which is the areas which need it, which have connectivity to rail and which can offer an MMLP experience. And I think that's going to be largely what everybody needs to do. We need to have these MMLPs put up at places which are going to be near industrial hubs. So it automatically has the economies of scale working for it. You're able to keep cost low, you're able to deliver service, you're able to leverage your revenues into technology, which again gives that single point of contact, or maybe no point of contact. You could have it all flowing on EDI. You don't want to have a conversation if you can avoid it. And I think this is what we are doing right now, but I think it's going to happen across the country. And I'm extremely happy to see that this Gati Shakti is taking shape in such a manner where we are having a translation that's happened right here on this dais, and I'm extremely excited to see how this is going to show itself up going forward. One more thing that we all do have to understand, and I think that came out already in this conversation, is the moral cost of business, which is of a driver having basic amenities having the basic comforts, having working hours. All this is cost again building up at some level. And unless we do these technologies, bring in these MMLP kind of infrastructures, which can negate that, we are going to have this conversation forever. So I think that's the way forward. We leverage technology, we leverage capital that exists at this point of time, bringing it into areas which are requiring this infrastructure, and try to do whatever transformational logistics we can do.
And Captain Nair, I asked one more question is that, these MMLPs are coming up, and you are also, as a company, you are setting it up. Normally what we do a SWOT analysis while setting up any business or projects. So in that, we only see threats versus benefits, advantage and all these things. But when you see the threat column, and if you see so many people are going to set it up, that gives one more indication that, this is not a product which is going to fail. So how do you look at it, that how many such centers in future, if you see this as a success, and how many such things is going to come up, according to your assumptions? It may be wrong or it may be right.
Ideally, an MMLP would have success if it's going to be within a 20-mile range of an industrial cluster. Anything beyond that, your first mile connectivity cost starts building up, negates the effect of it. So ideally, I would say one in every district. I mean, that would be the way I would like to look at it. Having rail connectivity, being able to access whatever is the infrastructure that's being given. Ideally, that would be the case. But at this point of time, if I'm going to look at states' industrialization, we have an extremely industrial Gujarat, right? Which is a beautiful thing. That means there is so much potential that exists. This can immediately be leveraged by all, anybody in this room or anybody who's aware of it. And that will automatically bring down the cost, bring comfort, bring traction into the business, and eventually be a lighthouse for others who are trying to copy or trying to get into the business. And in a similar manner, what we are doing is also identifying several clusters in and around this area, and we're trying to see how we can develop these infrastructures.
I agree with you, and 20 kilometers radius is ambitious, can be achieved, and I feel always that in the radius of 50 to 150 kilometers also, if you have MMLPs in the near coming future of few years, that will also be good. And to sum it up, I would like to say that, there are concerns of the end users, and that should be our concern as a service providers, because I always say that without end users, we are nowhere. So the end users' concern has to be taken into account. Yes, service providers also have got few challenges. That also has to be looked into. But the country's focus and the government's focus is not unwarranted when we are looking into cost factors, which we have to look into it. And when we say that MMLPs and all these, how it is going to help? It is going to help because every service is going to be integrated under one roof, and maybe big players will come into it, invest on infrastructures like transportation or warehouse or various factors of the logistics, and bring it closer, not only to the port area, but into the cargo cluster areas also. Then definitely MMLPs is going to be a success. Along with this, whenever we are talking about the cost effectiveness, and which was also one of the points agenda, sir, to look into the cost factors, and also I urge upon, there is one major thing which I have been talking, and I would like to emphasize here also, that only for our industry there is no regulator. That means you can go nowhere. When he says that the cost is there, there are certain issues, there is justified, not justified. We are talking into the seminars and all, but we cannot go and talk legally to anyone about the cost. So you have regulators for all other sectors, and definitely Europe, US and other developed countries also have regulators on these things. And I suggest that government should look into it and have a regulator where things can be taken up and the things can be amicably settled, and there can be a very balanced environment for this country. With these things, I hope we had given you a good perspective from our session, and that's it. I hope they balanced and
Hello. It took 20 years when Container Corporation of India has, came up with this idea of multimodal logistics. And they started, more than 20 years, and they started, advertising Container Corporation of India, a multimodal logistics service provider. And we are lucky enough to have a part of Seatrade, this panel discussion. The Seatrade is coming up with the concept of multimodal logistics summit. The concept which was originated before 20 years, and now it has been conceptualized and it is coming into the practice, and Seatrade is advertising it. It is creating the awareness by arranging such kind of conferences and summits, because Government of India, whatever we talk about, cost, skill, whatever it may be, because it is all the policy decisions which will come up from the government itself. But some of the things which we can do, which can make everyone aware about the government policies, in multimodalism, they are coming up with the multimodal logistics parks. So very good, it's a very beautiful example, which has been created by Ashish bhai here in Kandla, because Kandla is the major port in India. And where was the cargo in Mundra? There wasn't any cargo in Mundra, but now, undeclared, Mundra is #1 port in India, because we are only considering the government major ports by means of their tonnages and other factors. But Mundra, there is no industries, unlike Nhava Sheva is having around many industries. But Mundra, because of the approach, how are you serving, how are you looking to your customer? Because shipper, if there is no shipper, sir, with due respect, if there is no shipper, how can we as a service provider can do? We are nothing. So we as a service provider be part of dedicated freight corridors. Those are being developed. It will have a fast connectivity by means of railway services. Then Bharatmala, which is connecting right from port to the point of origin, where you'll have a production, the real production. If with the help of they can how they'll approach and how they'll reach to the point of origin to pick up the cargo is picking up from the Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana.
Yeah, I think
with the help of that. And another one is the Sagarmala. So Sagarmala, Bharatmala and dedicated freight corridors all come together. Multimodal logistics park as an infrastructure will make a different Bharat in future with cost effectiveness also, sir. By that time we will have, because before 20 years it was the concept, now we are implementing it, so it will take another 10 years, and definitely this government which
unfortunately is working, Dr. Vishal, the organizers have got their own problems of timings, and I thank the Seatrade.
So hopefully it will come up.
I thank Seatrade for giving us this opportunity to present such a lively and solutions, or I would not say solutions, maybe at least inroads into the problems and issues prevailing here, and hopefully such summits can bring out some solutions out of this. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for patiently hearing.
Thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much to Mr. Iyer for moderating this session, and thank you to all our panelists for such an insightful session. One more time, can we have a huge applause for everybody on stage? I would request all the panelists to remain on stage, as we would like to present a memento as a token of appreciation, and to do so I would like to invite on stage Mr. Murli Mahesh of Transworld Group Singapore. I would request Mr. Murli Mahesh to kindly join us on stage. First I would request Mr. Murli Mahesh to present the memento to Mr. Nair. Ladies and gentlemen, if we all can join our hands. Next to Mr. Bajaj. And to Mr. Avnash Iyer. And Dr. Zingde. Everybody, we all can join our hands with a great smile on your face. This was just the first session. Next to Mr. Rekhawat. Mr. Joshi. To Dr. Bisen. And last but not the least, to our moderator, Mr. Radhakrishnan here. One more time, give it up a big round of applause for moderating such a great session. As I mentioned earlier, it was a tough session to moderate, but still, it was a great session. I would request each one of you kindly remain on stage. We would like to have a group photograph. Okay, this was the first session, and now we would like to take a break of half an hour. It is almost 4:30. We would like to see you all here by 5 o'clock. Thank you so much once again. Thank you. Enjoy your tea or coffee. I would like to request each one of you kindly be back here on time, as you already know that we are running late and we would not like to miss any session here. We still have 2 more sessions to go, so kindly be back as soon as possible. Thank you.